Today, I have somebody really phenomenal. I must say, I learned so much from this amazing lady, Penny Haslam. She's motivational speaker. She's an author. She's a former business journalist on TV and radio. And also, she's MD founder of Be Famous. But we're going to tell about you in a minute. All about what that means, be famous. However, Penny, I would like to welcome you first here. Thank you so much for coming onto my show.
Thank you, Olga. Good afternoon in the beautiful month of October. Another busy week for all of us, but it's good to take time out for a bit of learning at lunchtime and a bit of inspiration, isn't it? So it's a real pleasure to be here.
Oh, thank you so much. And I hope everybody has their drinks or their lunches, because it's almost like lunch and learn session, right? And I absolutely love the topic which we're going to speak about today, which is how to position yourself as an expert and build your brand profile. I must say, Penny, you definitely are the expert on this topic, because I learned from you so much. And I was following your advice, you know that.
I heard you only just recently told me that though. So, and when you told me, I was really impressed and pleased, delighted, because quite often when you have a connection with somebody and they take on board what you're talking about and what you're passionate about, you're never certain as to whether it's landed really well or whether that person has done anything with that information. And so 2 years later, when you said to me, I took on board what you said and I did everything, and here I am, successful, international, doing what I've always wanted to do. It was, I mean, you're a coach, you help people do this. So for me to help you do this was phenomenal. So thank you for sharing that with me. It's nice to get unsolicited feedback, isn't it?
It's very true, very true. But it was a pleasure for me to share that, because I think it's quite important to go back to somebody who actually did give you that extra push and extra nudge and actually helped you with that. And it wasn't you, hitting me with a stick and saying what I should do. It was me hearing you speaking as a speaker, and I was so inspired, so motivated, took my notes and was like, okay, now I'm on my own case. So thank you so much publicly for moving me forward.
Well done you for holding yourself accountable and getting on with it, because quite often that's the stumbling block, isn't it? And we are our own worst enemies when it comes to doing something that is a bit new perhaps, or taking ourselves into a space that we perhaps feel a little uncomfortable. So, it's you really who's done the work, isn't it? So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much for saying this. But I must say, you're so right about being uncomfortable, because even when we speak about positioning yourself as an expert, that sounds so uncomfortable to so many people. So I wonder, Penny, would you like to tell us more why we should actually position ourselves as an expert? Like, what's the reason? Why to bother?
Yeah, it's a big word, isn't it? Expert. Are you an expert? Would you consider yourself to be an expert? And when I speak to groups, audiences, and I ask them, okay, hands up, or put in the chat room, chat box, if you consider yourself to be an expert. Not very many people do. I mean, typically accountants, lawyers, consultants might do, because they've quite often got a qualification or a certificate telling them that they are an expert in a certain area. But for most of us, it's not something that we perhaps think of ourselves as being straight away. But quite often, if you were to unpick that, you'd find that most people do have areas of expertise. And really, in the dictionary, in the Oxford English Dictionary, all it really says that an expert is someone who has experience. So ask yourself, do I have experience in the stuff that I want to deal in? Yes. Do I have knowledge? Yeah, I know some stuff. Yeah, okay. And am I passionate? That's my bit I add on, actually. If you're an expert, you're probably passionate about your subject area or subject areas. And I'll talk about that in a minute. But this idea that you have to be an expert often leads us to think about a stereotype of expert. So an academic, a world-leading expert, a business captain of industry, a scientist, all that kind of stuff, someone with a PhD or super qualifications. And it doesn't have to be the case, because most times, most people have experience and knowledge and that passion that they can bring together and begin to develop areas of expertise. Now, it's really important when you want to get out there and raise your profile to sort of attach yourself to a couple of areas of expertise.
Very true, very true. And I love what you're saying there. It's about you recognizing that expertise and experience and knowledge within yourself. Nobody will ever come to you and say, I think you're an expert. I think you know so much more than me, because people will not do that. It will kill their own confidence, right? And everybody wants to be better than others. So it's you recognizing, okay, do I have that within myself? And can I educate somebody else on that topic? And it's not about knowing everything. And I must say, Penny, that was my challenge for a while. I was thinking, yeah, but I don't know it all, because I wanted to know that all, everything.
Or you think, well, I can't know it all, so therefore other people must know more than me. Or you have a comparisonitis issue where you think that everyone knows a bit more than you do. So then you ask yourself, well, who am I to be sharing my knowledge and experience and my passion? Who am I? Who will listen to me? And of course, that will sort of largely depend on how confident you're feeling at the time, how much self-esteem you have. Maybe you're operating in a new circumstance, you've just launched a new business, or you've started a new job. And so those feelings of comfort or confidence might have depleted for a temporary moment of time. But it's very important to concentrate on them and go, right, do you know what? I know more than most people anyway, or I'm more passionate about it, or I'm able to articulate it in a way that others don't. I mean, that person over there knows more than me, but they're really boring. You don't have to be massively expert. And equally, you don't have to be able to share yards and miles and meters and kilometers of information about what you know. You don't have to present people with a PhD dissertation every time. You know, you don't have to. They're not going to pat you down for your certificates. Are you expert? No, get out. No one's going to do that. So the point of saying that about you don't have to be sharing all of your expertise all of the time is because our modern business communication is quite often very short. Mm-hmm. So if you think about, and this idea really came from when I was interviewing businessmen and women on live television, national radio, and asking them a few questions for 2, 3, 4 minutes at a time, and then being able to convey their information, their expertise really well in that short period of time. And then you translate that to a modern business setting, and you've got, well, how long do you have to speak in a meeting? You know, just as part of the conversation. How long is a corridor conversation? If you're taking part in a panel discussion or going to networking, you're not going to be there for half an hour delivering everything you know about everything. It'd be boring, wouldn't it? So if you can think of packaging up your expertise in short bites, helping people understand how you help them, how you can support them, it's a different position to labeling yourself, I'm the expert.
Exactly.
And hoping that people will come to you and suddenly will bow at your feet and want to know everything that you know. So it's a different approach. It's a bit more light touch. And as you said, a bit easier to absorb and then deal with.
Yeah, I love that. I love it. And I think without you telling that you are, people will not really even listen to you. They will, but the minute you say expert, I don't think so. It's something about being big ego, having that big ego, or being somebody who is very snobby, calling themselves. I think it's just something what you will make people believe and trust that you are. Again, it doesn't mean that now you have to call yourself an expert if you don't have that expertise, right?
And you might not feel comfortable labeling yourself as such. You might say subject area specialist, or has 10 years, 20 years experience in this field, or experience. You know, it's just owning it for yourself really and going, right, okay. But, you know, this is a broad idea. So an expert or someone with expertise, you know, has to know about something. Mm-hmm. And so when I work with clients and organizations, we work on what your campaign issues might be, your pet subjects, your specialisms, not that you have to know everything about everything. And when you zoom in on zoom in, it's hard to say the word Zoom these days, isn't it, without sort of thinking about calls and whatnot. But when you focus in on 2 or 3 areas of specialism, you can begin to claim those for your own, develop more of your knowledge about those areas, showcase your experience based on those smaller areas, and get known for that. Whereas if you're very broad about it, It's more difficult for people to understand how you might help them and why you're the person to help them. So a good example of that is someone we worked with called Rose St. Louis, and she is a brilliant, brilliant woman. She was at a large insurance firm, and now she's gone to one of the big four accountancy firms. But the point is, when she first turned up at her new job in the insurance industry, she was a woman in a financial sector setting. She knew that she wanted to stand out somehow. But what did she want to stand out for? So she very strongly attached herself to the topic of women and insurance, and specifically, another pet subject, women and the way they are sometimes underinsured. I don't quite know what all that means, but I'm guessing women are underinsured, and she knows a lot about it, so it's fine. So she attached herself to those two areas of specialty or expertise, and she grew that profile, getting known as that person. And before long, her organization had spotted her activity on social media, and they hadn't told her off and gone, you mustn't do that. They said, oh my gosh, you're great. You really know what you're doing. Would you like to be our TV spokesperson, our radio spokesperson? Would you like to talk on all the panels that we get asked to take part in and become, I suppose, a figurehead for those kind of areas?
Wow.
Because she's approachable, fun, and engaging, she helped that brand become a human sort of face of the brand and accessible, but also she helped her career. So there are many reasons for doing this, and there are many ways of doing this sweetly, nicely, so you don't have to worry too much about it. It's like you stick to your subjects, you get to be known for them, and all of a sudden you can really develop your profile for them. Now, the cute thing is really to take those ideas and then make yourself a little bit famous with them. So the campaign issues are the starting point for your next step, which is the campaign trail. And that, again, can slightly blow people's minds if they're a bit shy or they're a bit unused to being in the spotlight, or they think it's about being in the spotlight. But the campaign issues help you. They help you showcase your knowledge rather than feeling like a show off. Look at me, I'm amazing. It's a very sort of celebrity idea there, isn't it? But actually, when you dig into a subject, that's the show, that's the star, isn't it? Your subject is the star of the show.
Yes, exactly. I love it. And the example was so perfect because I heard one somewhere phrase, in the world of knowledge, small is big. You pick one area, you pick one, talking about sizes.
Well, say more about less.
Yeah, exactly.
More about less.
Yeah, true. When you pick one thing, one topic, and then you go big about that. But yeah, very often we think we need to know a lot about everything. And that's actually, I think, what puts off people from putting themselves as an expert, because they're trying to be expert of everything. But then how do we become an expert? Penny, please tell us the secrets. How can we become the experts?
Well, it's being known as the expert. Is that what you mean? Like there's positioning yourself secretly at home and going, right, I'm going to be an expert in these ideas, and like, I'm going to do this type of subject. And then it's getting known as an expert, isn't it?
Yes.
Known for being someone who has great understanding about certain areas. And actually, just going back on that, it's like this idea that you should know a lot about a lot is largely born out of, I would say, the word insecurity. Now, I know that when I first set up in my own business, coaching, training and speaking, I held on very tightly to a very broad spectrum of topic areas. And I thought, if I can just make sure and everyone understands that I deal in all of these areas, I do broadcasting and I do writing and I do a bit of training and I do media, and the list went on. But it didn't help me at all. In fact, it hindered me. I couldn't stand for one thing or two things. So people didn't know exactly at a glance what I stood for, what I dealt in, what my areas of expertise were. Anyway, once you have spent some time working on those questions, which are, how do I help people? What do I want to be known for? What does our organization stand for? What does my business stand for? How can I fit into that? How can I help that and be congruent on that? So very similar all the time and consistent. What are you going to do then to hit the campaign trail? And it's a bit like a figurative, imaginary mare running for an imaginary office, that they would have their campaign issues, and then they would hit the campaign trail and they would be shaking hands, kissing the babies, you know, knocking on doors and getting their campaign issues out there. Now, I'm not suggesting for a minute that we kiss babies or shake hands, not with a global pandemic going on, but equally it's not really how we might get known in business. But there are other ways of doing it, aren't there? LinkedIn, Twitter, social media, using video, emails. Oh, and it's all free. This is the wonderful thing. It's all free. The only thing that you need to dig in with is your time and a bit of effort and learning and understanding how it could work for you. And a bit of discomfort, I dare say, as well. So be brave in this as well. So get your campaign issues, hit the campaign trail. And you and I, Olga, we are speakers as well. So we're speaking, taking part at live events, offering to be part of a panel discussion, or joining an association that's relevant to your industry or what it is you want to get known for. And not just joining, but helping to run that organisation, stepping up and being part of it. I mean, that has stood me and you in great stead in the organisation that we both belong to, which is the Professional Speaking Association. If we were just at the back of the room or back of the Zoom and just being quiet, we wouldn't be known for what we do. It's just great to build your profile one handshake at a time, or one elbow touch at a time, as we are in the UK at the moment, or one Zoom call or whatever it is. And it's better to have people understanding what you do than trying to just be everything to everyone. Easier, make your life easier.
Love that. Yes. Again, confirming that when you are becoming famous for one thing, it's much easier for others to refer you. It's much easier for others to speak about you as you do that thing. But I do remember when I for the first time came to your PSA meeting and somebody asked me, what do you speak on? And I was like, oh, I can speak about this and about that. This, right? And we all have been there, right? Like, as you said earlier, you also were feeling like you can coach so many people on so many different topics. And only eventually you learn that actually it's about being passionate about that one thing, which you know you're passionate about, you enjoy, and the choice. And yes, of course, you can do other things. Like, of course, you can do many other things. Of course, I can do many other things. But it's that one little thing which actually makes people to get to know you better.
And you can slice that cake any how you like, because you could think about your own areas of expertise. You can express that in subject areas, or you can express that in the type of customer that you deal with, or the type of supplier or stakeholder or investor that you deal with. You can show it off in many different ways. It doesn't always have to be about the subjects. It could be about the client type that you like working, or the customer base you like working with, or the diversity issue that you're invested in at your workplace. It could be anything. It could be absolutely anything, but it doesn't have to be just about the work that you do, by the way. So bear that in mind. In fact, I did a talk at a law firm at the beginning of lockdown. It was online. They loved it. They were quite surprised that it was that good. And the booker, the person who organised it, ran the Diversity and Inclusion Network. And she went, I'm going to use these ideas. And then before I knew it, she'd put herself in for an award and had been shortlisted and is just still waiting for the results to see if she's won, but she'd never have done that before. So with that award, she's then able to get known a little bit more for being so passionate about D&I at her business. And you know what? That's really paying off for her within her organization. So again, it's about joining stuff, being a part of it, and then developing it further and really running with it. And quite often we do this as an ad hoc thing, don't we?
Yeah.
We might attend a networking, we might do a talk at a thing, we might do, none of it's particularly joined up. So that's why I call it a campaign trail. So think of yourself as running for mayor on the campaign trail, and making a plan, a little business plan, setting some small goals, this year, or big goals if you consider them to be big goals, fair enough. Small goals like, I'm going to go to a networking 6 times in the next 12 months, or I'm going to join that association and then I'm going to ask to be part of the committee. This year I'm going to do 3 speaking jobs, presentations over 12 months. And you know what, try stuff. If you don't like it, don't do it again. But don't stop and go, right, well, that's it. It's not working. That Penny Haslam, she said I should do this, and it's not working. You do actually have to just experiment and try stuff for yourself. Similarly with social media.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know, where are your people? Who do you want to get in front of? Where are they? To get in front of them there.
Love that. These are such golden nuggets. Honestly, people should hear your message. And I'll be actually surprising you right now. I wonder where else people are listening us from. But so far, I have feedback from India and Iran and Australia and America, which is amazing.
Lovely.
So I'd love to hear where else are people listening us from, because we have quite a lot of people listening to us, especially on LinkedIn, a lot more than Facebook. But yeah, I would love to hear where, guys, are you listening us from. Please do let us know. And also, please do let us know, how do you feel about positioning yourself as an expert? After everything what Penny said so far, what is your most amazing, most important takeaway, which actually you will start working from today? Because I remember when I listened to Penny, I was making notes, and then I started applying everything. So I beg you, please do it, because Penny is here, right?
Yeah. And the other thing that you have a chance to do is not only get known for what you want to get known for, not only attract clients, colleagues, potential candidates to your business, or potential customers, all that good stuff, or investors, whatever your agenda is, think about who you want to attract. But you also make yourself a role model for others. And that might be important to you on a deeper level. So if you're existing in a market where there aren't that many women in business, for example, then, you know, get known for that, and you can really stand out, but be a role model for others, and, you know, show other people that it is possible, etc. So, you know, across the board, it doesn't matter. Just being a role model for someone who's great at communicating with confidence is a real leg up, a real offer of support to others. And I think partly why I started speaking and helping people. In fact, my first business was about helping women get on TV and radio. It was really niche and not a very good business, I have to say. I really thought about it, and I didn't have a business coach to help me think about anything. So it was a bit of a first step. But that was me speaking on a stage in a way that was confident and funny and delightful, and I just wanted to show that I didn't really care, and I wanted to show people you could fly. And I do get a lot of people coming up to me going, I want to be able to speak like you, Penny, and be that confident on stage. You've really inspired me. So I don't want to be, you know, it's like being a role model for people in the way that you want to be.
Yeah.
And help others.
This is so important. When people recognize you as a role model, not necessarily it will come to you straight away, because what I noticed, people see you as a role model, but they're not necessarily share that with you. And it takes a while until the message will get to your ears that you actually are a role model, right? For example, I don't know why I never got back to you earlier than 2 years to say, you know what, Penny, you really inspired me. Now I'm thinking, why did it do that, right? Like, it's like, duh, that moment, right? So don't get put off by if people don't tell you you are the role model, right? Just be.
No, yeah. You don't know you are until years later.
Yeah.
It doesn't click. You're like, oh, right, yeah, so I really helped you, did I? Oh, cool. And not just in what you say, but how you are as well.
Yeah.
If you're going to look out for good business karma, then, you know, being kind, being generous, being helpful. And that is what this expertise thing is all about, is that you are being helpful to others.
Yeah.
You're sharing your expertise, you're sharing your good knowledge. And that's a really valuable part of being a human being in this climate, I think, and helping your local businesses grow, your national businesses, whatever it is you're part of, is doing it in a positive human way, not a nasty, grabby way.
Exactly.
Yes.
Well,
say no to that, don't we?
No, but again, we have to always remember about our reputation. I think our reputation is something which you can build and build for years, but you can destroy it in seconds. So as you build yourself as an expert, and as you position yourself an expert, especially then, I think it's extremely important for you to watch out what you say, how you say, especially on social media. Maybe go back and delete everything what you didn't want people to see, right? Because people will be sniffing. They will be sniffing, and they'll be checking, and they'll be exploring with the what's like magnifying glass, literally everything from your past. So I think that's quite important.
I also recommend that, suggest there's a real opportunity here for smaller businesses, medium-sized businesses, to develop their profile. Even if it's you're an individual in business, develop your profile in order to build trust. And of course, when people get to know you through your campaign issues, through running for mayor, they get to like you and they get to trust you. And that's the most brilliant bit of gold that you can hang on to if you are in business, is your customer, client, candidates' trust in your brand and your name. And trust is at an all-time low. We know this across the board. So small and medium-sized businesses have a real opportunity there to, grab some trust from people in a way that the bigger organizations really struggle with.
Yeah, very true. Very, very true. So yeah, it's something what we definitely need to remember about, build and constantly maintain. Not just build, but also maintain. But thank you so much for this. But then how about actually build that brand profile? Like, what are the actions? Okay, now we got that. Okay, establish yourself, that small is actually big, and then talk more about less, right? And then go through the social media, go to speaking engagements, do speaking engagements at different events, yada, yada. But then is this actually that brand profile, or are we missing something here?
Well, you're not missing anything really. I mean, there are levels of it. It depends what you want to achieve. If it's your brand profile, if it's for you, for your career, it's your personal brand profile or your business brand profile. It doesn't really matter that you're getting out there and getting attention. It's not the same as selling. It's not the same as marketing. It's not the same as public relations. None of that. But it is about positioning yourself as an individual who knows about some stuff and can be helpful. Now, quite often people get to those moments and they go, yep, do you know what? Penny said, make a short video for social media. I'm going to do that. And I'm also going to go on a panel, and I'm also going to do a talk, and I'm going to have a coffee with, but what am I going to say? I don't know what I'm going to say when I would speak at that meeting, but I just don't know what I'm going to say, or I'm worried that I will be waffling and going on too much and not being very concise. And I've only got 2 or 3 minutes, really, if that, to get my message across and to have great impact and to showcase my expertise. So, I don't know how to do that. So I won't do it. And it's a barrier. It becomes an instant barrier to actually doing any of this work. So we understand it intellectually, rationally. But when it comes to practically doing it, we often stop ourselves because we just don't know what to say or how to say it. So I have put together, and this comes from listening to those businessmen and women on TV and radio and understanding what the ingredients were for really good communication on a very small level, on a micro level. I've put it all into my book, which looks like this, called Make Yourself a Little Bit Famous, which is a handbook for this type of communication and for the running for mayor ideas and all the rest of it. So it's all in here. I've also got what I'm about to share with you available for you today. If you'll share a link in a minute, Olga, on that. But the what to say issue can be addressed quite quickly by the model or the tool for preparation that I've got. And this is simply the back of an envelope, a piece of scrap of paper and a pen, noting down a few ideas. Face, it's called Face. So there we go. You can find your own explainer and a blank copy of this particular model. It's 4 boxes. In one box is F, in the next box is A, C, and E, face. And that stands for fact. Tell us a bit of a fact. Something that is absolutely accurate, up to date, makes you sound expert and, like you know what you're doing. Add a bit of detail about that fact, so that's the A. Tell us some more information about it. Build up the idea that you're knowledgeable and factually accurate and you've got some substance to what you're saying. And then the C of face is your comment, your opinion. What do you think? What's your angle? What's your take on the topic that you're discussing or the issue that is in hand that's being discussed? Whatever it is, what is your opinion on it? And then the hard bit, but the best bit, is the E, which is for example. So give us a real world little example of something that has happened or something that you have experienced that brings it all to life. Now, I've got a great tool there for face. It's got all of this explaining in it. And it really does mean that you can have all the ingredient parts to a really good bit of communication that doesn't take very long to say, is memorable because you've got a bit of a real world story in there. And, our language and our communication is littered with those little stories. Like last week, I got a call from a client, but I was in the garden and I was just looking at some of the plants there and wondering if I should deadhead them or not and take the dead top. And the client rang and I had muddy hands and I had to run back into the garden. I had the phone. I was washing my hands. But the point I'm making is that it's really important to take a customer call at any time of the day or night. So whatever your point is, you can always illustrate it with some wonderful human storytelling. And I avoid the word story because that rather indicates you should have a beginning, a middle, and an end. But what I'm talking about is just using language from the real world to pull in little pictures, because they really stick in our minds. In fact, when you tell information, share information in this way, you might have a great fact. If you only dealt in facts, people would only remember 5% of what you've said. Mm-hmm. However, if you talk in stories and comments and, just bring it to life and be yourself, people will remember 63% of what you said. So work on the E example heavily and get that really sorted out. You have a notebook, have all of the examples that you think of, all of the little things that happen day to day. Quite often they've got a learning point to them. Quite often they help underline things and make you feel wonderfully human, relaxed, joyful, cheeky, fun, all the things that customers love. And before you know it, you're having a great time sharing your expertise. So use Face. Do download that. It's there for you. Totally free and fun.
That is so generous of you. Thank you so much, Penny. And I must say, I think I will go back to that link and I will actually do it again because I think it's so important for you to learn more about yourself and more about your stories, which you can pass on to other people. But it's always easy to think, oh yeah, that's a good story to tell one day. But if you don't write it down, if you don't systemize that, you will not even remember about it.
Yeah, you forget it instantly, don't you? It's what stand-up comedians do. It's what great thinkers do. It's just like making some fun notes about something that happened. Then you can forget about it. But then it may be useful one day rather than sitting there with going, oh, I've got a meeting. I just don't know what. It's like, no, tell the bus story.
Love that. Yeah. And I think
like yourself to life.
Yeah, exactly. And I think also quite important to give them some funny names. So whenever you refer to that, people remember that and that sticks in their mind. And then whenever asks you, obviously you already know what it means. Otherwise, if there's very lengthy description, that takes a bit of effort to remember. So something like what you said, tell me the bus story. And then you know what is the bus story. And then it goes from one person to another. Oh yeah, Penny talks about bus story. Olga talks about bus story. So it's much easier then. I love that. Yeah, well, thank you so much for this generous gesture of yours.
Very welcome.
Share with us. I already shared the link actually below the video on LinkedIn. And also I will share a link later on everywhere as well. I do want people to go actually check it out, use it for themselves, whether it is a presentation, maybe even an interview, and they can share their story there, even about their previous experience. It doesn't have to be you as a public speaker.
No, not at all. And this is about the practical moment-to-moment existence of life. So you can use Face in email, you can use Face in a telephone conversation. It keeps you on message and it keeps you contained, because quite often we're really very passionate about the work we do.
Yes.
And we really just tend to go on a bit. Talk too much. Don't talk too much, because actually you want to be doing more listening when you're with somebody else quite often. So to keep your messages, your ideas contained, neat, concise, compelling and memorable, and also confident sounding, Face is absolutely the practical tool you'll need. And I really insist that everything I do is practical. The whole book is like a handbook helper for going on television and radio, how to do it well, how to go on a panel and speak really well or chair one, or how to speak at presentations or meetings. And, we all get the rah, rah, brilliant. Oh yeah, just be brilliant. You're going to get out there more. But no, we're not, unless you have some really practical tools. So the how-to bit is crucial for me, absolutely part of who I am. Penny's practical.
Wonderful. I love it. I like how you said Penny's practical. P for P. Love it. That's wonderful. Amazing. Well, Penny, I must say it was absolutely amazing session with you. I learned so much today. And this face, link to this face tool is actually really, really valuable. So as I said, I will go myself, but also I will make sure people know about that. I will also share all the links to your social media. But is there anything else what we need to know about how we can get in touch with you, and also what people can book you for?
Gosh, what a very generous question. I can be booked as a motivational speaker, and I get regularly booked to talk about raising your profile, but also I talk about the confidence that it takes to do that. And that's partly a funny talk, mostly a funny talk actually, because I do like to use a bit of comedy in my talks. And these are for large organizations or teams that want to build up their profile or build their confidence. So that's something that I love doing, and lots and lots of people can get lots of benefit from. And then otherwise, go to that website, www. Don't know why I'm saying www. No one does that anymore, do they? We all know it's on the World Wide Web. bitfamous.co.uk. And you can see all the good work that we do in helping and enabling people to communicate with confidence, usually big businesses and senior leadership teams, emerging leaders, that sort of thing. But there is fortnightly, every 2 weeks, wonderful email that you can get from me that just nudges you along with all of this. It's completely free, and you can get some ideas, motivation, practical tools like FACE, and be part of it that way. So there's something for everybody. And that's about it. I mean, book me. Just get my book. If nothing else, get my book. Book me for that. Book a date with a bookseller and buy a book.
I love that. Thank you so much. We actually have here a very nice compliment, which I like, from Gautam on LinkedIn, says, your expressions are adorable. That's great to hear. Thank you so much.
But I hope that means facial and verbal expression.
Yeah. Yes. And it just shows how important it is to remember that you don't only tell the story, just like when you were talking about that face tool, but you also show your story. And I think Lisa Nichols, she talks a lot about that. Don't just tell your story, also show your story.
Yeah.
So knowing your story inside out, knowing all the details, remembering everything will help us to show, just like you did just today. And that's why people love you. But
relive it. It's easier than telling it. I have to say, if you can relive a story and get passionate, and this is the whole thing. If you're knowledgeable about something and experienced, you're on this call, you're listening to this because you're passionate. So you've got that already, I think. Share that passion and enthusiasm for what you do, because there are lots of boring people out there being very wooden in what they're doing, and actually it doesn't help anyone. So be yourself, have fun.
Yeah, exactly. But thank you so much, Penny. It was so much fun to have you today. I really enjoyed that. Once more, thank you so much for giving me so much inspiration 2 years ago, which actually I applied, and therefore here we are doing this show today. I just wish everybody who watched us today, especially if you were with us till the very end, thank you so very much being with us. But Penny, my huge thanks goes to you for taking your time off your busy schedule, because you are a busy person, I know that, and being here on my show with your generosity. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Olga. Thank you very much for having me. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.